have been an integral part of Langley. Roman, the one thing I was going to share, when I was working in the NAV Center, we used a model that M.G. Taylor had called the 7-step creative process model. And it's divided into 2 halves. So the first half of that is the subjective thing, identity, the vision, and the intent to solve a particular problem. The second half is the objective, the engineering, the building, the using, which leads to new problems. But we've got both halves of that process right here. Jill is the subjective. She is nationally known for her ability to work with large groups, organizations, and to help them with the digital transformation. And Roman has spent, according to his document, over 100,000 hours in wind tunnels in his career. So he has been hard at work on the objective, the building and using side of this. When he retired, Roman was the associate director in RD for facilities and labs. When she retired, Jill was working at headquarters when she retired as the agency's inaugural digital transformation officer. Did I get that right? And they have served in numerous posts over the years leading up to that. I'll just mention, when I got Amy's bio, I read through it very quickly, and I sent her an email back, and I said, Amy, I think I can summarize your bio in one sentence. After completing the co-op program at Langley, you have since been on an express elevator to the top. And really, that kind of speaks to our 2 presenters today. So we've actually given you 8 more minutes. We wanted to be done by 12:15. So we're now going to move to Roman. We're going to start with the American side of the Pacific.
First question. Who hasn't taken a cruise in the room? Has not. Okay, there's a few. So there's some tidbits in here that you may learn a few, and hopefully some tidbits for frequent cruisers. So this cruise was probably my wife and I 8th cruise, I think. And Royal Caribbean, we've kind of honed in on that one. We've been on Princess, we've been on Norwegian. The very first cruise we took was on Carnival. We didn't do that again. But those were the early days. For Royal Caribbean, this is kind of a medium-sized ship, Quantum of the Seas, roughly 4,000 passengers. And there were 9 of us in our party, plus a few friends by the thousand. So, I can click. I can probably point too. Let's have a pointer. That's a pointer. Okay, good. Here we go. So the cruise was out of Seattle. Ports of call were Sitka, Skagway, Dawes Glacier, Juneau, and Victoria. Back to Seattle. I didn't realize it until putting this together. The cruise route is kind of strange a little bit. So you leave here out of Seattle, you cruise all day to Sitka, then you go past Juneau to Skagway, you go past Juneau again to see the glacier, back to Juneau and back to Victoria, then Seattle. So a couple days at sea, but it's kind of once I saw this, it's kind of weird that you're going past the places you're going to stop in the future. Us two up here, my wife Joanne, next week marks 48 years of marriage, so that's a good thing. Down below is my son Matt, our youngest, and his wife Sarah, and then the rest of the crew. My son Roman, his girlfriend. At least that's how the cruise started. So Renee, this is Renee's daughter Alyssa, her boyfriend Keegan, and Renee's aunt Sue. So that's kind of the whole nutshell that we had on the cruise. So it was a good time. For the non-cruisers or the people who cruise before, taking a cruise usually takes a good chunk of upfront planning. We booked this cruise that we want on Alaska on a cruise previously 6 months or 16 months prior. In fact, we were on the cruise with Clayton Turner when we booked this cruise. Yeah, so it was kind of interesting. It's like we it was out of Miami, walked out of the elevator and there's Clayton in the elevator. What are you doing here? Going on a cruise? Which one? An icon of the seas. Yeah, me too. But when you book online or book on the cruise line, they give you an incentive of $100 shipboard credit per person for doing it online. You also get the advantage of being able to pick what class of room you want, whether it's a inside cabin, inside balcony, outside balcony, that kind of thing. Also get to pick your room up front too. Some places don't. For less money, you get to take the cruise line's choice, so to speak. So the next cruise we're taking in September next year, we took the potluck version to save $800 a person. So see where that goes. Once we made the reservation, spread the word to the rest of the family, then everybody kind of piled on board from what we saw in the last slide. Immediately you have to download the cruise line app. It's a phone app. It doesn't work on tablets, we found out, because I'm sitting on the couch trying to use it on a tablet. It didn't work. You got to use your phone or a laptop or whatever, that works. But everything you can do as far as booking reservations for shows, for extra meals, for excursions, you can do on the phone app. And I think all the cruise lines have a similar app to do that. Then you go online and start looking at videos for other people that have taken that same cruise previously and see the pros and cons. What's a good excursion to go on to? What's not a good excursion to go on to? Like anything, people are going to say, no, this is the worst cruise line. So you have to kind of get rid of the chaff from the real world stuff. But again, some good information there. And a lot of them are professional cruisers. I've got some websites there that's all they do. They get paid by YouTube to go on cruises, which is kind of a heck of a life. So and then you start saving your pennies, because there's the cruise price and then there's the extra stuff. There's excursions you want to go on to. Some are relatively inexpensive. You don't have to go on an excursion if you don't want to. Some people don't. They like to just get to a port and just go on their own. And then some excursions, especially with Alaskan, get pretty pricey. Like the helicopter ride over the glacier, that could be $1,500 a person. It can get pretty pricey. Drink packages, same thing. If you're a drinker, you can pay your $90 a day per person, and both people in the cabin have to have the same package. That's a lot of drinking, because a typical drink on a cruise line is like $15, $17. But you have to do a lot of drinking to have a drink package. They do have, soft drink packages, coffee and tea packages, that kind of thing too. So it can get pricey. Like I said, we departed out of Seattle. We got there 2 days early, and we're converging from all different parts of the country. My son Roman and what you saw on the left side, his girlfriend, they're from the Fort Worth area. We came out of here out of Virginia, and then my son Matt and his wife, they're coming out of Buffalo. So we got there. First thing we did, we all converged about within 2 hours of each other, of everybody in Seattle. Got to the hotel, dropped luggage. Then first thing we did, we went to the Space Needle. I walked around there. My daughter-in-law Sarah took a picture of her, but I was trying to get the picture of the Blue Angels in the background. It was Fleet Week in Seattle, so the Blue Angels were flying around the Space Needle, which is kind of neat. So I had to cut and paste the little insert there. Mount Rainier on a clear day. To be honest, this is the day coming back from the cruise, because the first day of departure, it was kind of cloudy and couldn't see the mountain. But, when we returned to port, it was rather clear. Matt and Sarah visited the, I can't even say, Chihuly Garden Glass Museum. It's a really neat place. Just looking at their pictures they had, it's all glasswork, blown glass, everything. It was pretty amazing. We did some walking around Pike's Market, Farmers Market. That's pretty neat. The first original Starbucks store is there. Sarah wanted to have a cup of coffee from the original Starbucks store. She waited in line for an hour to get that cup of coffee. So it was a long line, but it was worth it. It was a good cup of coffee. The next day, we caught breakfast. Matt and Sarah went to a baseball game. And then Roman, Renee, myself, and Joanne went to the Boeing Museum of Flight. I hadn't been there in about 10 years. It's significantly expanded. Pretty neat museum. So it was good to see. But the key to point to this is get to your destination at least a day early. For us, it was either a 3-hour or 2-hour time difference. Turns out on the cruise, you're also making another hour difference. So it was a 4-hour time difference for us. It gets you acclimated a little bit earlier. Plus, it avoids any kind of flight delays. Get on board the ship, walk around, explore stuff. Some people get on early and they'll just put a bathing suit on, go to the pool, and sit by the pool, go catch lunch or whatever. There's on the app you have to do your health questionnaire to make sure you're healthy before you get on board. It's all on the app. You have to learn all the drills. In the good old days, you had to go to your room, get your life preserver, go to your muster station. You don't do that anymore, actually. But the first thing you go on board, you find your muster station, and they'll scan your badge in that says, okay, you know where to go in case you're going to sink. And then you can go up and do everything else. There are prohibited items, and the list keeps changing. You can bring a bottle of wine on per person, which is a good thing. You're not supposed to bring alcohol on, but my son has found out if you buy on Amazon for $10, you get these little fillable bags that you can fill with adult beverages and bring on board. And he hasn't been caught yet out of the last 4 cruises. As a side note, we went on one cruise. It was a wedding cruise and friends. And I got caught bringing a bottle of Jack Daniels on board. And there's a long line. They send you to the sheriff's office, and we got your bottle. If you want it, pick it up at the end of the cruise. You can always get it back. My son brought his stuff on, no problem. Part of the wedding party, they brought a cheap styrofoam cooler filled with beer and ice, taped it all up, marked it medical supplies, and it went on. So I haven't tried that, but this system works really well. And then grab some ice cream in the solarium. My son Matt and I had the adjacent balconies, typical balcony room that you can see, and then just exploring the rest of this is towards the front of the ship. Cell phones. If you have a cell phone and you leave port, make sure it's turned off. You can get a cell phone app if you want from the ship. How am I doing time wise?
I just got a text.
Okay, that's good. Text that, hurry up. But there's stories that I've seen that you leave port and you're at sea and you're going to get $100, $200 phone bill because your phone keeps pinging the networks. And the cruise lines offer some kind of plans to use your cell phone, but they're usually not very good. They also offer plans for using internet and that, but they're like $15, $20 a day. And from what I've seen or what I've heard is they're not very good either. But again, the first day was at sea, doing a bunch of checkout, saw the sunset, waiting for the green flash. We didn't see the green flash. Bingo is the big thing on board. The cash prizes the biggest one is the last day at sea. But they also have tablets. You can buy a tablet or rent a tablet for $69. It plays bingo for you. It'll tell you if you win, so which is kind of neat. I mean, it's all electronic. And in fact, that last day there was the prize was like $5,000, and there was parents had their son using the tablet. He screams, "Hey, I won! He won $5,000." So it can be very lucrative in that too. So our first port was Sitka. Any port that you get to in Alaska could have anywhere from 2 ships to 5 ships. So depending on when you get in port, it could be very busy or not so busy. The week we were there, Alaska was in a warm spell. They were in the mid 60s, which was hot for them. We took this national park and tour. The kids went kayaking. I figure I'm not going to go kayaking in Alaska, sitting next to cold water. So I skipped that part. But Joanne and I took the national park tour. The bus made a stop here at this place called Sandy Beach. There's no sand on that beach whatsoever. It's all rocks, but there were people laying out on towels in bathing suits, enjoying the very warm day. I think it was by 66 or 67. Lots of carvings. You can see very picturesque. You know, I was always resisted going to Alaska because I'm bears versus bathing suits. I'm a Caribbean kind of cruiser more so than Alaska, but we would go back after this trip. It was very picturesque and interesting. It's amazing what's there. And we saw the very southern end of Alaska. And then the totem poles. This is the totem park, so there are hundreds of totem poles in this park. And if I remember the story about the pole, the mother of the clan is always the bottom. She's the source of the hierarchy, if you will. We visited this raptor center. They take in injured raptors, eagles, hawks, owls. They try to rehabilitate them as much as they can, but if the ones they can't, they're permanent residents, and these two can't fly, so they're just residents on the outside. We visited this Tlingit tribal history. I want to call it a museum. It's not. It's a cultural center, but and they kind of tell the story of the Tlingit nation. What was surprising for me, now granted it was in August, so school was out and everything, but there was a lot of middle school, high school kids involved in this, and they were dedicated to this. It was kind of good to see that the young people were taking interest in the heritage of their culture. Next stop was Skagway. The only that we took there was the train ride, about 3.5 hours, and it climbs up the mountain, and it doesn't seem like you're going very high until you look down out the window, and then hey, those are train tracks down there, and those are the train tracks we were just on. So you climb your way up. The train we were on was a typical diesel powered train. They do have a coal-fired steam engine, which you have to wait for it to pass as one of the sidings. You do go into Canada. There's the border crossing right there, the old bridge. I did learn an important lesson, though. Nature calls, so each car has its own bathroom. So I went to the bathroom just at the same time that the train went in the tunnel. There's no lights in the bathroom. So like, okay, hopefully he'll come out of the tunnel, but just standing there and waiting. It was awkward, to say the least. The train dropped us off not where we departed from. It departs essentially right by the ship. It's just a couple football field walk to getting on the train, but it dropped us off conveniently at the other end of town and walked back to the ship. But typical, kind of a touristy kind of thing for Skagway, for any kind of, I guess, port of call that we have here. Very picturesque. My wife is into quilting, so she's got a nose for finding quilt shops and that. So she always finds out the quilt shop. I didn't put a picture here, but we got back to the ship. We had a couple hours. We just kind of rested a bit. There's an airport right there for all the helicopter tours, and they had a half a dozen helicopters, and they would leave in sorties. Every 10 minutes they would take off, another 10 minutes, another set would come back, and it was just constant back and forth taking people through the glacier. And remember what I said about $1,500 a person? It was making lots of money there. So, okay, Dawes Glacier, Endicott Arm. This is, you kind of go cruising up the fjord, I guess you would call it. It's a very slow cruise. You start seeing chunks of ice floating in the water as you're cruising by. And once you get, this is about as close as you get, as well as zooming in to see the glacier. Picture doesn't do it justice, but blue ice from the glacier. and then the ship does a 360 turn in that little bay there. The next stop after this is Juneau. People start camping out in the warm areas, the solarium areas of the ship, 2 o'clock in the morning, because you get to here around 4 or 5 in the morning. So they want a good seat where they're warm and can still see everything. If you want, but it gets about, this is how close you get. If you want to get closer, they offer this little tour boat thing. Sue in our group, she took that excursion, and then you actually go right up to the glacier. What she didn't know when she signed up is you don't get back on the cruise ship if you take that excursion. You take that boat to Juneau. So it was another 3-hour ride to Juneau on that ship. Yeah, it was fine. There was interior parts to it, but it was very interesting. It's something to see, definitely, to see a glacier that close. And it was a little bit chilly too. So when you're at that point. Juneau, we didn't sign up for any excursions in Juneau. We thought about signing up early to take this Gold Bed tram. The cruise ship price was like $63. You could buy the ticket on your own, import it for $60. When we got there, it was rainy and overcast. You could only see about this level with all the clouds and that. So it did clear up at the end. But in Juneau, the first thing everybody does is race to Tracy's King Crab Shack and buy your king crab or various different levels. The sampler platter, if you want to call it that, that was kind of the cheapest one to go with. That was about $80 a person, but there were some that were $200 a person to get, depending on the type of crab. It was kind of out of season as well. So, and then we just spent the day walking around Juneau, and like I said, another quilt shop, but kind of a very touristy town, like you'd see in Smithfield or those kind of things. Just lots of restaurants, bars, shops, that kind of. The last stop was Victoria, BC, Canada. This is us pulling into port. Some people took the garden walk, garden tour, and kind of a butterfly museum kind of thing in Victoria. We decided to take a challenge, and we took the brew walk, the brewery walk kind of thing. So went to like 4 or 5 different establishments to sample the local adult beverage. Walked through Chinatown, through this Fantan Alley. This kind of reminded me of something like Harry Potter almost. Walking around, it's like you had to be very narrow. The story went with this that was the only way you could get to this Chinatown area, but it also kept a lot of people out because they want to make it private. No longer that way, but it was a neat experience. The bus ride back was right near sunset, so we saw the Blue Bridge. They call it the Blue Bridge because they have blue lights on it. That's the only reason. And then the Parliament building, it was all lit up at the end. And there's entertainment on board. Lots of different shows to see. Vegas style kind of shows. Difficult to see. The Sonic Odyssey. This guy is kind of playing a harp, but the strings of the instrument run all the way over the audience in there. So it's kind of different. They have late night adult type versions of the game, the Newlywed Game. And let's just say they asked some risque questions to the couples, and it's funny to listen to some of the answers. And then they have other shows like either music and juggler. Like I said in the beginning, it started off as Roman's girlfriend, and it turned out to be Roman's fiance. So at the end, he popped the question on the cruise. Everybody on the cruise out of our party knew that it was going to happen, except for Renee. She was expecting it at Christmas time. It didn't happen. He in fact bought the ring on the ship. They got a big bottle of champagne out of it, and we celebrated. So it was. He's going to ask the question now. So we're all kind of following him. Like, where are you going? No, we're just walking around. Well, she was asking. So I was like, it's tough to keep that a secret. But I think I got one more slide. Oh yeah, recap. before I talk to the pictures, learn what you can, by learning from others on Facebook, YouTube, and whatever, LAA meetings. Book your excursions early. If you cancel, you can get your money back or transfer it to another excursion if you have to. But some of the popular ones get booked up early and not on there. Take lots of pictures because you're going to get asked to give a presentation at this meeting. And that's relax and enjoy. The one thing we did on this cruise never happened before, but they offered busing right back to SeaTac Airport because it's Uber and Lyft were about 45, $50 to get to the airport from the cruise terminal. This was $30 a person. The other thing that was different, we could check our luggage directly. We flew out of Richmond directly to Richmond Airport from the cruise ship, which was new. So it's if you get free checked baggage, it was still free, or you just pay whatever your airline costs are. So and it worked out well. So we didn't have to carry luggage with us. And then our next cruise, we didn't book on the ship, but we booked it through Priceline. Again, we could pick our class of room, but we couldn't pick the specific room. But we saved about $800. So going to these pictures, we took a family cruise back in '99. This is my son, Matt. He was 12 years old at the time. So every time the waiter asked him, what do you want for dessert? Nothing. I don't want nothing. So the last day they brought him a plate of nothing. So since this was his second cruise, we made sure the wait staff would ask, this time he took dessert, but make sure the last day they actually gave him a plate of nothing so he would remember this cruise. And I think that's it. I don't think I have any more. That's it. Questions, comments?
Roman, did you see the 737 we once had in the hangar here around at the Seattle Air and Space Museum?
It's this. I don't know if it was a 737. There was an NASA plane there, but I don't.
737 with a cockpit behind the forward flight deck.
I didn't see that. I didn't see that. I thought it was a 727 that was
Maybe
there.
they don't.
Yeah, there was a NASA plane there.
Hey, Roman, somebody asked, when did you take the trip?
When? It was August of this year. So
Very sad.
yeah, the Alaska cruises, they have a very short time frame, typically like May till September, and then those cruise ships go south where it's warmer and less ice.
I have to say, Roman, when you showed that picture of the bridge that's broken,
Yeah.
my nephew works in Seattle
Yeah.
for an engineering company. He's getting his master's in engineering, I guess graduating in December. He actually, with the company, was flown out to Alaska for the whole summer to help fix the bridge. So when I see him next week, I'm excited to see if it really was in Skagway.
Well, when you're on the train, you see that bridge first, and you can't tell where the tracks are going. So it's
I'm trying to remember who saw that bridge. So that's great.